backing to hold talks with them. Now, let's not even get into the Pakistan dynamic because they are nowhere in competition. The actual competition as envisaged in this region was between Bharat and China in the 40s and the 50s. Before, in the 70s and thereafter, the PLA and the CCP raced ahead. The difference was in those 3 decades, ladies and gentlemen, which we feel the pinch of even now. But Congress's Mani Shankar Aiyar continues perhaps the tradition within certain stalwarts of the Congress party who always end up batting for the enemy. Days after he advocated talks with Pakistan saying they have an atom bomb, he now has again said has chosen the time to give a clean chit to China on the 1962 war, or what Amit Malviya called it, an attempt at revisionism to try and rewrite how history actually played out. He referred to the 1962 Sino-Indian War as the alleged Chinese invasion. Alleged. Big story there, ladies and gentlemen. He argued that Bharat, then led by Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru, could have accepted former Premier Zhou Enlai's proposal for a resolution 2 years before the war broke out. When confronted, he said he should have refrained from such comments during election time. The Congress very quick to distance itself from the remark, saying that he is apologized for using allegedly, mistakenly, but he didn't. But the Congress said we don't as a party endorse this comment. He said it in an individual capacity. But has action been taken against Mr. Mani Shankar Aiyar for repeated utterances thus? The BJP said remarks of the Congress loyalists show their anti-India mindset. But the big question is it the CCP pact behind this entire 1962 quip and openly batting for the CCP and the PLA? Now, before we get into that, let's try and understand what actually happened, revisit history a little bit. December 1961, Bharat under Nehru adopted the forward policy aimed at establishing symbolic posts in Ladakh to assert territorial claims and deter further Chinese encroachment. Not a blade of grass grows there, to then asserting and saying it's time enough that we push them back a bit. They've encroached enough onto our territory, already giving up Aksai Chin by then. April 1962, China issues ultimatum demanding the withdrawal of Indian frontier personnel from the border posts. 2nd June 1962, China rejects India's demands to withdraw its forces from Indian territory. 10th June 1962, Indian and Chinese soldiers face off within 100 yards of each other at the Galwan Valley in Ladakh. Galwan yet again repeated itself in 2020. The response was different. Here, an armed clash was narrowly averted when Chinese withdrew just in time when India threatened to use force. 26 July 1962, both sides agreed to hold discussions on the basis of officials' report, which China had earlier disregarded for the resolution of boundary dispute. 13th August 1962, the Indian government moves a motion calling for consideration of the situation along the Indo-China border, particularly in the Ladakh region. 13th September 1962, China repeats its proposal for the withdrawal of the armed forces by both sides 20 kilometers back from the Indian border. 20th September, Chinese forces cross the McMahon line in the Thangla region, 2 miles east of Dhola in Nefa, and open fire on an auxiliary Indian post. 29 September 1962, Chinese forces launch another intensified attack in the northeastern border. 6th October 1962, New Delhi again accuses China of intruding into Indian territory in the eastern sector and attacking Indian forces. 20th October 1962, China launches a massive multi-pronged attack all along the border from Nefa to Ladakh. 24th October 1962, China proposes a 3-point ceasefire formula where both parties would respect the line of actual control. The armed forces would withdraw 20 kilometers from this line, and the talks between the head of the two nations to seek a friendly settlement. 26th October 1962, India proclaims a national emergency. 27th October 1962, Nehru rejects China's ceasefire proposal. 15th November 1962, a massive Chinese attack on the eastern front. Tawang, Walong and western sector overrun, and Rezangla and the Chushul airports were shelled. 18th November 1962, Chinese troops capture Bomdila in the Nefa region. 21st November 1962, China declares a unilateral ceasefire along the entire border and announces withdrawal of its troops to position 20 kilometers behind the LAC. 8th December 1962, China sends a note signed by Zhou Enlai to India reiterating the 3-point ceasefire formula. India accepts. Here's what the Nehru-led India. This is when they defended China. 1949, China sending a note signed by Zhou Enlai to India reiterating 3-point ceasefire formula. India accepts. 1950, India opposes UN resolutions branding China as an aggressor in the Korean War. Nehru advocates China's membership in the United Nations in parliamentary debate held in New Delhi. He says, we don't need it, they do. We gave it up at that time, ladies and gentlemen. 1954, India expresses regret at the General Assembly resolution postponing discussion of Communist China's membership in the UN. 1955, India signs a protocol at Lhasa handing over to China the control of all communication services in Tibet. While Nehru-led India backed China at the global platform, China continued to betray Bharat. 1959, Zhou Enlai spells out for the first time China's claims to over 40,000 square miles of Indian territory, both in Ladakh and Nepal. China refuses to accept the McMahon line, with Zhou Enlai stating that China was not a signatory to the 1842 Treaty of Chushul between British India and England, and the multiple points Indian troops in Aksai Chin were targeted. Further, Beijing laid claims to almost 50,000 square miles of Indian territory in Sikkim and Bhutan. 1960, China refuses to acknowledge India's report. A detailed study of all historical documents, records, maps on the border issue. Chinese troops violate Indian border in Shipki village in the Nepha region. Indian opposition leaders report 52 violations of the Indian airspace by the Chinese troops in Nepha, Uttar Pradesh and in Ladakh. 1961, China refuses to discuss Sino-Bhutanese and Sino-Sikkimese boundary disputes and further occupies 12,000 square miles of western sector of the Sino-Indian border. Why am I saying all of this, ladies and gentlemen? I'm saying all of this because we should not forget our history. We should not forget that it's the ghost of 62 that continued to haunt many who, despite Chinese aggression, no Chinese aggression since then, since 1967 when we taught them a lesson in Sikkim, we still believe that China was bigger than us, larger than us, more stronger than us, and generations who never saw this war continue to do that. Why? Because it was this ghost of 62, and that's being called an alleged invasion. The BJP reminded Rahul Gandhi of alleged China and Congress bonhomie. Memorandum signed between China's Communist Party and Congress in 2008. The MOU provides the two parties the opportunity to consult each other on important bilateral, regional and international developments. BJP MP Jamyang Sering Namgyal claimed that Zorawar Fort in Demchok was destroyed by the PL in 2008, the very year when the MOU was signed, and set up PLA's observing point in 2012 on that very spot, which marked Indian territory. Zorawar Singh was the one who pushed the Chinese back, and that a Treaty of Chushul 1842 happened, the Zorawar Fort happened, and that was all Indian territory, ladies and gentlemen. Now a Chinese observation post there. During UPS regime, all of this happened between 2008 and 2012. Also created Chinese new Demchok colony with 13 cemented houses there. In 2017, Rahul Gandhi meets Chinese envoy in Delhi amid the Doklam standoff. In 2018, Rahul met two Chinese ministers during Kailash Mansarovar Yatra, and he allegedly met the ministers without the MEA's knowledge or permission. In 2022, FCRA license of Rajiv Gandhi Foundation was cancelled, and Home Minister Shah said RGF received funds from the Chinese embassy. He said that between 2005 to 2007, RGF received 1.35 crore from the Chinese embassy. The same period, ladies and gentlemen, when that MOU was signed, at that time Xi Jinping was the vice president, and it was signed in Beijing. In 2023, BJP also rakes up the NYT report, New York Times report on NewsClick to Rahul Gandhi. BJP alleges that Congress-China NewsClick was part of a same umbilical cord.
In October 1962, the Chinese allegedly invaded India.
Use the expression alleged, but I shouldn't have done so. Yes, I shouldn't have done so because we're in the middle of an election.
अय्यर हैं कौन? ना कोई पदाधिकारी हैं, पूर्व सांसद हैं, पूर्व मंत्री हैं, जो कुछ बोलते हैं वो बोलते रहते हैं, अपनी व्यक्तिगत तौर से बोलते रहते हैं. हमने उनका उससे हमने कुछ लेना देना नहीं है.
कांग्रेस ने जो देश के साथ अन्याय वर्षों तक किया है और जो देश को कमजोर भी किया, नहीं तो कोई कारण नहीं था कि भारत की स्थिति होती.
The 1842 Treaty of Chushul was signed by Maharaja Ranjit Singh Khalsa Darbar and the Dalai Lama of Tibet, ladies and gentlemen. That forms the bedrock of the borders, defining the borders. And look at the 1842 Treaty of Chushul. Go back and see where our borders lay. Where was Bharat then and where is it today, and how much of it has been compromised between 1947 and 2014, ladies and gentlemen. Big questions, and especially this period between 2006, 2007 to 2012, 2013. Tuhin Sinha, national spokesperson of the BJP, George Korean political analyst, Smita Prakash and Rashid Kidwai with us. Namaste and Jai Hind. Many would ask, why are we raking up the past? Why are we talking about this? But when there is an attempt at revisionism and to try and say that it was alleged invasion, there should have been a furor within the Congress party too. Not just a denial, George Korean, not just a distancing.
Good evening, Anand, to my co-panelists on your debate and to your audience. Let me begin by saying, Mani Shankar Aiyar is a former Congress leader. We have no doubts about it. But in the last 10 years you may have noticed that, Mani Shankar Aiyar holds no organizational position within the Congress party. Neither he's a ground level leader for the Congress party, neither is he amplifying the Congress ideology to begin with. So trying to corner the Congress party with such loose statements of Mani Shankar Aiyar is uncalled for, and I strongly believe that the media should refrain from making any attempt to defame the Congress party during the course of the election that is going on at this point in time.
Has he been formally expelled from the Congress party, sir? Has he been formally expelled from the Congress party? Is he going on all platforms stating that he is no longer a Congress leader?
Well, Anand, I respectfully want to, don't want to buy that argument of yours. See, the Congress party believes in a secular fabric. We have a democratic, every Congress leader who believes in the Congress ideology has the, they can put forward their point of view democratically, and we don't hold.
So he's still a Congress leader then?
But
he's still a member of the Congress party then? He has not been expelled by the Congress party?
Definitely is good without saying Mani Shankar Aiyar is still with the Congress ideology, but the way he...
so then please don't say he's no longer a Congress leader.
The loose talks and loose statement that Mani Shankar Aiyar is making in the last couple of years goes to show that he's trying to make a pitch towards Narendra Modi, but unfortunately the Bharatiya Janata Party is not trying to give him any position, or for that matter not trying to.
So are you going to wait for him to join the BJP and continue to make such utterances that compromise the interest of the Congress party and also Bharat as a nation, ladies, Mr. Korean? And
making such loose statements, one should understand. Mani Shankar Aiyar should also understand that
he has not apologized also, sir.
He has got all the positions.
In direct contravention to Shri Jairam Ramesh's post, where he said that Mr. Mani Shankar Aiyar has retracted his statement and apologized for what he said, Mr. Mani Shankar Aiyar has not apologized. He just said that I shouldn't have said it during election period. There is a difference.
So, Anand, we have to understand the damage has already been done. So there's no point apologizing post anything has been done. So, because the media has got.
Does the Congress still have? Let me ask you. Does the Congress party still have an MOU with the CCP, sir? Is that MOU still operational?
Well, Anand, let me reiterate for the benefit of your audience. For the Congress party, past is history. Congress party is looking forward to a new Congress, and it's a new Congress.
I'm just asking you, Mr. Korean, a very simple question. Does the Congress party still have an MOU in running with the CCP that was signed in 2008? Is that MOU still on?
Well, Anand, to get to your answer, let me reiterate, the Congress party, when it comes to power in 2024, which we are confident we are going to come, we already 265 seats at this point in time. We're just short about 10-15 seats at this point in time. Narendra Modi and the Bharatiya Janata Party will be a very good opposition for this nation. We will ensure that we will run this country with
two questions that you have not answered, and you were very fluent in your arguments till these two questions where you stuttered and stammered, sir, and it is on record and it is visible. Why is Mani Shankar Aiyar still a member of the Congress party if his utterances have continuously embarrassed the Congress party, whereas other leaders have been suspended and expelled for lesser comments and lesser work that they have done? Constructive criticism has seen expulsion, but this kind of destructive criticism for both the party and the country has not seen expulsion. Secondly, well, sir, you failed to answer the question whether the Congress party still has an MOU with the CCP PLA that it signed in 2008. That question still remains unanswered. I will still leave it parked there. Tuhin Sinha, Mani Shankar Aiyar is batting for the BJP. That's the allegation.
Namaste Anand, namaste everybody. Well, in the timeline that you just mentioned, with regard to the India-China conflict, an important date is 7th November 1950, when Patel had written a very comprehensive letter to Nehru warning him of the dangers of trusting China blindly. He had listed some 9 specific points, which included India's stand on Tibet, which included, our stand on McMahon line, and he wanted an immediate discussion with Nehru to address all of these. So all of these people like Mani Shankar Aiyar, who today, live in denialism, are basically resorting to a form of perverse elitism where they want to, wash off Nehru's culpability or Nehru's mistakes or his historical, misjudgment in underestimating the China threat. And that is why, Mani Shankar Aiyar continues to be a very dangerous entity, not just for the BJP. I mean, for the BJP, he's more of an asset right now, but for the country today. Now, like you rightly explained, there has been a treaty between the Congress Party and the Communist Party of China in 2008. But even prior to that, they had started receiving donations for the Rajiv Gandhi Foundation. They had started aiding China in Rajiv Gandhi Foundation had started aiding China by preparing reports for the Chinese market. So all of these things need to be questioned. But more recently in 2017, when we were locked in a dispute with border dispute, in Sikkim. What was Rahul Gandhi doing? He did not trust our defense minister. He trusted the Chinese embassy more. He went there to have chow mein, or he went there to have tea or whatever, and he wanted to dig out information about the dispute from the Chinese embassy. So this speaks a lot about the compromised attitude of the present day Congress, and they may claim that Mani Shankar Aiyar is not a part of the Congress, but this is the larger compromised mentality of the present day Congress, which seems to be completely ignorant of how to conduct themselves in best national interests.
Well, there are other MOUs also that were signed that compromised Bharat's interests, but most importantly, it was the RCEP. So, along with donations to a private foundation or a foundation that was run by a political party or a political leadership, although not directly connected to the party, many may say, but that then government also signed the RCEP with the Chinese, which killed manufacturing in our country, many would argue. The same RCEP from which the government of the day in 2020 walked out, and thereafter we saw what happened soon after. January, the RCEP was denied, December, Jan, and in April, Galwan happened. Smita Prakash and Rashid Kitwai. Smita Prakash, fair questions to ask ahead of phase 7, or would you turn around and say, ye gade murde inhe kyun ukhad rahe ho?
No, absolutely not. I think Mr. Kurian doesn't know the history of his own party. Mani Shankar Aiyar is making no attempts, will make no attempts to get close to the BJP and Modi. There is a visceral hatred he has for the BJP. You need to know a little bit more about the people. I think Rashid is a good person. His books will tell you about the Congress party and its history. Mani Shankar Aiyar has this wonderful ability to be in the news during elections, and this time he's come in the last round, much to the media's dejection, because they had almost given up hope. But notice, Anand, that he said what he did not on a one-on-one with the journalist, where the journalist could have said, "Acha, galti se I didn't ask a follow-up, or I didn't ask him to rectify." He said this at a book event, a book discussion, where there were several journalists of the foreign news beat. So they knew exactly what was happening, and nobody corrected him. I'm also guessing that there are foreign journalists out there also. They also didn't stop him and say, "You just said something erroneous." And he, when he gives a correction, he says, he said this, made a mistake because we are in the middle of an election. So it's not that he is factually wrong or he has a wrong view. The timing, he says, is incorrect because we are in the middle of an election. So Jairam Ramesh, when he says that Mr. Aiyar has apologized and unreservedly for using alleged thing and the Congress distancing itself from it, it doesn't take away from the fact that there is a grey area. And, if you read out this entire list, now Mr. Aiyar, when did he join the IFS? In 1963. And as a young officer, you would think that any young officer who's idealistic and joins the foreign service at a time like that humiliation which we faced in the war would have left some impact on him. It would have erased whatever communist remnants that would have been in him. It would have wiped out that humiliation of the loss. No, it did no such thing. That's one thing about communism, is that it consumes a person completely. It's something that I have seen, and I'm saying this with a great deal of responsibility. I have seen this in bureaucrats of a certain vintage, Anand, in our country, who will, in spite of this country being regularly betrayed by the Chinese, they wear blinders when it comes to the Chinese.
Such a travesty this that generations that have not seen conflict with China or fight with China continue to fear China. This is all attributed by military minds, security minds, analysts to the ghosts of 62, and that's being called an alleged invasion. Rashid Kidwai,
Yeah, tell me.
where do you stand? Is Mani Shankar Aiyar
Right,
acting at the behest of the BJP, or is Mr. Mani Shankar Aiyar espousing what core Congress values or thought process is, that we don't say anything against China and we give China a clean shit because there is a Congress CCP MOU that is still operational?
Anand, you have raised two things. First of all, I think whatever two formulations you have made, none of it is true. Mr. Aiyar is not moving closer to BJP, and Mr. Aiyar is not speaking officially on the behest of Congress parties. Mr. Prakash is right. He is very much a Congress person and has an intense, I would say, dislike for Mr. Narendra Modi and the kind of politics that Mr. Modi is pursuing. So, see, the Congress has an inbuilt, very inefficient system, particularly if there is any kind of, course correction that is required. We have seen recently in case of Mr. Sam Pitroda also, who spoke out of turn, who spoke against, so to say, the interests of the Congress, whole-bound Congress, but yet he was neither expelled nor, show cause, nothing like that. He just resigned as chairman of Indian Overseas Congress. Because a lot of, if you ask members of Gandhi family, they would say it is for Mr. Mallikarjun Kharge, who is the official AICC president, to act against Mr. Mani Shankar Aiyar. And Mr. Kharge would always look, towards Gandhi family to get some kind of signal or a cue to act against decisively what you are expecting, some kind of suspension or expulsion. Remember last time also, Mr. Aiyar was indeed, he was suspended and he was expelled also for 6 years from the Congress party. He's just sort of, so to say, he has come back officially, but again, he faces that kind of thing. Second point, Anand, you have raised, I'm not so sure about this kind of the Communist Party of China and Congress relations. It is an open secret, and I have documented it in several of my books and articles and all. The Congress does have fraternal relations with many political parties. It in fact includes Baath Party of Saddam Hussein. There are several parties. There are this thing with Labour Party. They have a fraternal relations with PPP of Pakistan, and in the past AICC sessions, several foreign political parties, delegation, Communist Party of Vietnam, Sri Lankan parties, and several parties have come. It was only the Burari session in 2010 that they didn't come, but many foreign delegations, the fraternal relations exist. So that MOU was in keeping with that kind of fraternal relation Congress has with many political parties across the world.
Are you trying to say that MOU did not pave the way for RCEP to come into place? That MOU had nothing to do, and that MOU came at a time when the Chinese actually destroyed the Zorawar fort. They were way inside the Y junction. It happened in a year. It happened. I'm asking you, Rashid Kidwai ji. I'm asking you, Rashid Kidwai ji. Has the Congress Party ever officially said that we no longer have an MOU with the CCP? Post Galwan in 2020, did the Congress Party say we are ending our MOU with the CCP?
And your question can only be answered by the Congress Party.
I am asking you, sir. You are saying that the 2008 MOU has got no bearing. I am asking you that since you've tracked the Congress Party, you've written about it. Are you trying to tell me that?
Please hear me.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Look, from my understanding, and Mr. Prakash, you would correct me, the fraternal relations between political parties across the world have little or no bearing on the functioning of the government. It is that government works in a very different way, and the kind of things that you are referring to, has to do government to government relations. These are all cultural and very...
Let me ask you, all right, point taken. Are you okay with a party which is the grand old party of this country, which was by Muhammad Ali Jinnah branded as a Hindu nationalist party before independence, for this party to have fraternal relationship with a party which wanted to invade India and stake claim over more than 40,000 square miles and thereafter 50,000 square miles of Indian territory? Are you okay as an Indian citizen for this party to say we'll continue our fraternal relationship with them despite this party having encroaching into us? Sir, the CCP, sir, in China, in India, the Congress can be a separate political party and it can be a different entity when it is part of government. But in China, it's the same, sir. The CCP and the PLA are the same, government or not, state or not, they are everything. So I'm parking that question. You're saying you're not the right person to ask this question. Let me take that to
Absolutely, because I'm a private citizen. It is for Congress party to decide.
But I am asking you as a citizen, as somebody who's a senior journalist who track the Congress, does this not? Has anybody ever asked this question of Mrs. Sonia Gandhi or Mr. Rahul Gandhi? How can you sign an agreement with an entity which is inimical to us? How can you fraternize with a political party who has a five-finger policy that it's following that was laid down by Mao Zedong? That's what I'm trying to. So and the same person goes to the Chinese ambassador and has dinner with him when we are at the peak of a crisis and we are peak of a clash with the same party with them. They have a fraternal engagement with. No, sir, I am very calm, sir. I am very calm. I am not agitated at all. I am just amazed. I am just amazed that independent journalists never ask these questions in the interest of the country, sir. That's what I am saying, sir. Those who espouse independent journalism never ask these questions, sir. With due respect, it's not aimed at any individual, not you at all. The entire fraternity that is busy branding other journalists. When did they ask these questions when they were independent and free, sir? I am just leaving this question out there. Tuhinsina, please tell me, will you? No, sir. I am asking, sir. I am asking. Were these questions asked at that time? The UPA chairperson is standing behind somebody who was a member of parliament at that time, sitting and signing this engagement in a year when the Zorawar fort was destroyed in Demchok and the Chinese had made incursions and captured Indian territory. So, and soon after this, the RCEP was signed by the government, and the allegation made by the BJP that the private foundation also received donations from the CCP. So, there are multiple questions that will be asked. Yeah. But Tuhinsina, please tell me, are you okay with a political party fraternizing with a... One minute, sir. You said that this is beyond your purview. I am putting these questions out. Tuhinsina, 1 minute. Rashidji, I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you. Tuhinsina, I'll come back to you, sir. Tuhinsina.
Mani, he's called out my name. Why are you getting so hyper? He's called out my name. Let me put my point across. Anand, Mani Shankar Aiyar is only the symptom of a larger malaise that afflicts this Congress party. You know, since I have recently worked on a book on the Northeast, I can tell you that the people of Arunachal Pradesh are still impacted by the way Bomdela fell to the Chinese, and after that Nehru came on the radio and very casually said, my heart goes out to the people of Northeast. You should speak to Kiran Rijiju ji, you should speak to other people from the Northeast. They will, especially from Arunachal, who will tell you, how the scars have remained with the present generation. And when Mani Shankar Aiyar makes that casual statement, when he makes that mischievous statement, he kind of reopens those wounds which they have been trying to, cure. This is something which the Congress party does not realize. But why are we so surprised? I am telling you a recent instance. On 9th December 2022, the Chinese had made an attempt to intrude an area around Tawang. Some 200 Chinese troops had tried to attempt that and had attempted that, and our troops drove them away. It's a documented fact corroborated by our army. But on 16th December 2022, exactly a week after that, Rahul Gandhi made a very casual statement, our soldiers are being thrashed by the Chinese. So, I don't know why they have to be so insensitive to our soldiers, why they have to be so insensitive to the people of our Northeast, why? What is this compulsion?
It's not being insensitive to our soldiers, sir. It's being beholden and in awe of the CCP and the PLA. That's a syndrome and it's a mental issue. It's a psychological issue. Also, George Kurian, another question coming from our viewer. I'm pushing the time here on this debate and by another 2 minutes. One final comment from Suntak Prakash also after George Kurian. That in 2006 was a petroleum and gas cooperation MOU signed. 2006, again a year when the PLA made incursions into our territory and there were issues that were going on at that time. And as a result of this, did we lose our bids overseas and end up agreeing to buy Sakhalin gas at $16 per MMBTU? Now, is this true? Is this true that an impact on our energy security happened because of this kind of an agreement that was signed? So 2006, this MOU is signed. 2008, again an MOU between Congress Party and CCP is signed, and soon after that the RCEP is also signed. Were steps taken to compromise Bharat's security or make Bharat further beholden or in the clasps economically and otherwise in the hands of the CCP? And is this the whole follow-up?
Let me reiterate for the benefit of the audience is that when Mani Shankar Aiyar was in position, be it as a diplomat or as a member of parliament, he should have raised these issues that he's raising at this point in time would have hold importance and value. At this point in time, when he's out of power and when he's not in any position of the Congress party, this loose statement doesn't make any importance. It's in public domain how silent the Congress party, the Bharatiya Janata Party is with respect to China and the incursions into our territory, and it's in public domain. So I don't want to elaborate on that. Let me also reiterate that the Congress party is a party for the future, and we are looking at the growing inflation in the country, the unemployment in this country. So that is our concern. That's our priority. Past is history for the Congress party. We are looking forward towards the future, and we believe that we will be doing justice to the people of the India at large.
Sir, the actions of the past are the ones that are impacting us in the present and are going to further challenge us in the future. That's a reality, sir. That's a reality from Aksai Chin downwards to all this territory. Whether successive governments have been soft in their attitude towards defining that border, which is the longest one, and we have no clear border with the Chinese. Successive governments, sir. Successive governments, including the last 10 years, we have failed to define that border very, very clearly, and it is hurting us day in and day out. Smita Prakash, final word on this.
Look, why do you think Mr. Aiyar sounds so bitter when he says these things? The reason he says he's bitter is because he cannot understand why the Congress has shifted itself so far from what it used to be. And the very people who are saying distancing themselves from Mr. Aiyar's comments are the ones who used to be part of his team, who were junior to him. Another thing which I want to point out to you is that no, India did not suspend diplomatic relations with China even during those invasions when they were grabbing our territory piecemeal by piecemeal. Questions were not asked. You asked, Rashid, did the media then ask questions? No, the questions were not asked. But I want to add a caveat. India of then was not the India of today. Political parties, media, they all had these relationships, parallel relationships with political parties of other countries, even when there were aggressive military posturing by those countries. For example, journalists of SAFMA, which is South Asian journalists, were on track to, encouraged even by the Ministry of External Affairs, to continue even during the peak of Kashmir problem in the 90s, in the 2000s, regardless of whichever political party was in power in India, whether the BJP or the Congress, to continue having relations. Indian political parties, Indian media, Indian NGOs were not under so much scrutiny, Anand, then as they are today. With regard to the nationalism perspective. India has grown out of its shell. India has grown today. India has become more aware of these matters, of the insidious effects, and I to a large extent, I give credit to social media, which has made many people, including a person like me, more aware of the mistakes that have happened in the past and given us room to correct those mistakes.
Right. Thank you very, very much. Have to wind up on that note. Some of our guests would stay on. In fact, all of them are going to stay on because we stay with the discourse around the final phase of polls and turn the spotlight to the Prime Minister's